मधुर मधुर साई ध्यान मधुर मधुर साई नाम मधुर मधुर साई गीत मधुर मधुर साई बोध सुंदर सुंदर साई रूप जयतु जयतु साई कृष्ण जयतु जयतु साई कृष्ण मधुर मधुर साई नाम. Offering our loving pranams at the lotus feet of our ever-present Swami and invoking His presence and His benediction on each and every one of us. Most revered elders, dear brothers and sisters, Sairam to all of you. So wonderful to see all of you come from so far. So we first of all welcome you to Prasanthi Mandir, and I hope that you're having a wonderful stay as always. Just wanted to begin with, there's a beautiful story, I'm not sure whether many of you have heard it, but you know what is happening right now with all of you is not something, it's not something by chance. It's happening to you because of a specific design. So this is a story that happened, one of our brothers from the mid of India, if you know where Madhya Pradesh is. So there was this uncle, his name is Ravi Mandale, and he was narrating this experience to us. He has a little samiti of his in a place called Indore in India. And this happened about 10-15 years back. And he noticed that there were more number of people coming, week after week for the Thursday bhajans. So he was wondering, these are all strange faces which were coming. And so he wanted to know, how did they know about, these bhajans which are happening? And so when he asked them, they said that, oh, don't you know that there is this sage who is guiding all of us to the bhajans at your place? So there is this sage. So he's saying, which is the sage that he does not know, who himself is not coming for bhajans, but who is sending everybody else for bhajans? So he was pretty intrigued, so he wanted to know who is this person. So he found out the whereabouts, and he came to know that this was one sage who was sitting on the platform of a railway station in Indore. And he would keep calling people and telling them, go to Mr. Mandale's house for bhajans. So he went, on a fine afternoon, he went to the railway station and he found this great personage sitting over there. As he was coming towards the personage says, stop, don't come near. So what is the issue? He says, I will allow you to come near me only on two conditions. The first condition is, you should not fall at my feet. Okay, fair enough, I won't do that. What is the second condition? I will fall at your feet. Now this was something strange. So, with great trepidation, and finally he agreed. So the personage touched Mr. Mandale's feet. And now he said, so why have you come? He says, what do you mean, why have I come? Please tell me, what is this mystery? How is it that you're sending people to bhajans to my place? So he said, let me tell you a story. And so he went on to tell his story. The story is a very, very mysterious one. When he was a little boy of about 10 or 12, he was in Swami Shivananda's ashram. Do you know Swami Shivananda? So he has his ashram in Rishikesh in the north of India. So Swami Shivananda is a great, great master of our times. And our beloved Swami had visited Swami Shivananda's ashram way back in 1963. So it seems it so happened that Swami Shivananda was not keeping well in those days, but all of a sudden one day he kind of came out of his room and said, come on, clean up the entire ashram, put buntings, make floral decorations, etc., etc., because a great person is going to come. So they were wondering, who is this great person who is coming to our ashram? And a couple of days later, in walked our little Swami, who was just about 35 years old. This was way back in 1963, about close to 40 years old. You can imagine how young Swami was. So here was an octogenarian, the 80-year-old Swami Shivananda, who was welcoming a 40-year-old Swami. And everybody was watching this sight, and they were quite, befuddled seeing this. What is happening? Because at one point of time, Swami Shivananda fell at the feet of Swami. And everybody in the ashram was taken aback. Just imagine, your super guru or your super boss is falling at the feet of another guy, much younger. So they were all quite, taken aback. And as Swami left, and in fact, it seems that day, Swami Shivananda was in high spirits. Never before seen, in the last couple of weeks. He was so happy. And after Swami left, Swami Shivananda turned and looked at all these other hermits who were there in the ashram and said, Lord Krishna had come. And this is the little boy who heard this. And years passed by. Swami Shivananda breathed his last. He left his mortal coil. And each of those little children, they left to their own spiritual pursuits. This particular boy, this personage, he went to one of the caves in Himalayas and he used to sit and meditate. And he would hear Swami's instructions to him about how to meditate. And so every time he would hear these, instructions, he would always be drawn to Prasanthi Nilayam, to Puttaparthi, to see Bhagwan. And so once he decided that that's it, curiosity got the better of him. He took a train, all the way traveled for about 36 hours from New Delhi, right up to Dharmavaram. In those days, there was no Prasanthi Nilayam station, railway station. And if I'm not sure how many of you have actually come on to Dharmavaram in those days, about 20-25 years back. There would be only one bus in the morning at about 5:30, which would come. And so all the people, would be stranded on the station. You would have to wait all night and then catch the bus and come to Prasanthi Nilayam. And so he had reached in the midnight, and so he decided that he will sleep in the waiting room, which was, meant for these purposes. And so he went off to sleep. And about 5:15 he got up, and to his utter shock, he found himself in the same cave in Himalayas from where he traveled. He was back in the same cave that he was from where he started his journey. And the instruction from Swami was, who allowed you to come to Prasanthi Nilayam? Until I decide, you cannot step onto the soil of Prasanthi Nilayam. Your time has not come. I will call you when your time comes. Now just imagine, each one of you are seated in the same soil of Prasanthi Nilayam. How much more lucky, or I should say how much more spiritually elevated you all are, that Swami has actually called you onto this holy soil of Prasanthi Nilayam. So I think you should give a clap, you should give a round of applause to yourselves.
That is the reason why this sage, the personage, actually wanted to fall at the feet of...
Exactly, yes. So Mandli uncle said this was the reason this personage comes back and tell Mandli, you have got several opportunities to go to Prasanthi Nilayam. I still don't have the permission to come to Prasanthi Nilayam. And therefore I want to fall at your feet. And so here are pranams from our end to all your feet, for you have got this great opportunity to come to Prasanthi Nilayam and to be performing in front of Bhagwan tomorrow. So that was the little, what should I say, an advertisement or a commercial, if I can say, for how lucky you are, okay? For the kind of special offer that you have got to be here in Prasanthi Nilayam.
Yeah. So what Swami expects from each of us, okay, we have all come here, okay, from far off places. Maybe we have come a little before you. That's a blessing we have had. But there must be a specific reason why all of us are here. So what does Swami expect of us? One of his foremost teachings is Man mein Ram and Haath mein Kaam, which translates to have the Lord in your hearts. Yeah, have the Lord in your hearts and do service to society. These are the two things that Swami. So the first thing we are concerned now about we are going to talk basically about the first one, where we are going to have the Lord's name and form in our hearts. And how do we achieve this? Through Namasmarana. Because as Swami has so often told us, in this Kali age, if there is one quickest means to reach Swami, it is through Namasmarana, through chanting his divine name.
And it's the simplest, isn't it? You don't need to have any qualifications. You don't need to be able to stand on one leg, put your hand into your eye, and you do all those kind of yogic practices. Hold your nose, right? You don't have to do that. You don't have to sit around a furnace putting ghee into the fire all day long. Yeah. You don't have to do yajnams. You don't have to do anything. Just chant the name of the Lord.
Why? What is the significance of chanting the name of the Lord? And what is the significance of chanting the name of the Lord together? There must be some reason. People, great saints have sung kirtanas to the Lord. But then this thing called Sankirtana, which Swami stressed so much, that we sing together to the Lord. What is the significance? One beautiful example that Swami gives us is that we are traveling together. For example, assume you all landed in Bangalore airport and then you are all traveling together to Puttaparthi. And along the road, it's a new moon night and you're in a convoy of cars coming together. And your headlight stops working. So we are all on this journey towards God together and your headlight stops working. What happens? You're not perturbed. Why? Because you're in a convoy in which all are moving towards Swami. Your headlights don't work. The headlights of the others help you make that journey towards God.
And the beauty of this example is that when you're moving towards Puttaparthi, you don't have to be seeing Puttaparthi, isn't it? You just have to see the next 20 meters. That's all, right? As long as you know that you're on that particular path, all you need to do is to see the next 20 meters. And even if your light goes, as Bhagavan says, so that is the importance of all of us coming together. Even if my headlights stop working, Ravi Bhaiya's headlights are, shining the path for me. That's the beauty of bhajans.
Sorry to interrupt. I recall another analogy which Swami uses. Swami says that in the olden days, when electricity had not yet reached all houses, he says that people used to light these oil lamps and they used to keep it at the threshold of the house. The idea behind keeping it on the threshold was that it would give light to outside the house as well as inside the house. Swami says the name of the Lord is like that lamp. It brightens up your life, like in that example. But he says that the mouth is the threshold of the human body. So if you have the Lord's name on your lips, it lights your outside, it also lights your inside. It's another beautiful example where Swami uses the name of the Lord is equivalent to a light and how it can light up our lives.
So when we are doing it together, it lights up our hearts and lights up the hearts of everybody around us. So that is the other beautiful example that Swami.
And there's this beautiful bhajan, I'm sure you must have heard. All of us can sing together. This particular bhajan, Jeevana Jyoti Tumaho Swami. जीवन ज्योति तुम हो साई,
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 की ज्योत जलाओ साई, प्रेम की ज्योत जलाओ,
प्रेम की ज्योत जलाओ साई, प्रेम की ज्योत जलाओ।
जीवन के इन अंधियारों में साई दीप जलाओ, जीवन के इन अंधियारों में साई दीप जलाओ, दीप जलाओ, सत्य दीप जलाओ, साई दीप जलाओ, सत्य साई दीप जलाओ, प्रेम की ज्योत जलाओ, साई प्रेम की ज्योत जलाओ, प्रेम की ज्योत जलाओ, साई प्रेम की ज्योत जलाओ, प्रेम की ज्योत जलाओ, साई प्रेम की ज्योत जलाओ. This is a beautiful bhajan which pretty much says, light the lamp of love in our hearts. In this barren, dark world, if there is one thing that can shed light, can spread the light of love, it is your name. Let's keep it on our lips.
Now this wonderful Sai Bhajan that we have heard, it fills our lives. Let's just go into a little bit of history because it's so important for us to know how this whole thing started. So we would like to call it the evolution of Sai Bhajan.
And it's a very, very interesting story. I'm sure many of you must have read, Satyam Shivam Sundaram and all of those books. But this bhajans is been such an important part of Bhagwan's life. In fact, way back when he was a little boy of 9-10 years old, the saga of bhajan started there. Right? It was called the Pandhari Bhajan group. Are you aware of that? Swami would dance and sing in the lanes and by-lanes of Prasanthi Mandir, of Puttaparthi. And it seems the reason why he would do that was there was a deadly epidemic of cholera which was wiping out villages after villages. But it did not touch Puttaparthi. Why? Because this little boy with his little set of friends would roam around the streets of Puttaparthi singing the name of Vithala, singing the name of the Lord, and that kept the cholera epidemic away from Puttaparthi, so much so that the moment they got to know that, hey, this is, the magic which is happening, all the neighboring villages started calling, hey, Satya, Pandhari Bhajan group, come perform, in our village also. And that's how Swami started spreading the name of the Lord. So it started then. And obviously we know on the 20th of October, which is the Avatar Declaration Day, how did the Avatar start off his mission? With a Sai Bhajan only, right? Manasa Bhajare Guru Charanam, Dustara Bhavasa Garataranam. He said, Manasa Bhajare, chant. O mind, chant the name of the Lord. So that is, the genesis of how the first few Sai Bhajans started. And obviously it's been a fantastic saga. It went on to, do you know when this Prasanthi Nilayam was established? In 1950. On Swami's birthday in 1950, Prasanthi Nilayam was opened. Till then, from 1926 to 1950, Swami was in the Patha Mandiram, close to the end of the town. In fact, for your information, what we see, what we are currently, this part of Prasanthi Nilayam was nothing but a forest, or I should say a barren land with a few trees. And if you go towards the end of the Gopuram road, if you hit the dead end on Gopuram road and take a left, from there actually Puttaparthi starts. So in fact this is not Puttaparthi, that is Puttaparthi. And Swami's glory was spreading so fast. Obviously, that does not come without its drawbacks or there will be people having issues. The villagers from Puttaparthi told Bhagwan to leave the village and go. They did not want Swami to stay in the village, and that is why Swami set up Prasanthi Nilayam where it is. Needless to say, this has become Puttaparthi now, and that has become, the annex of of Puttaparthi.
And in those days, in fact, somebody put it in a very funny way, saying that Swami was the first PRO for the ashram. And he was a public, because he would literally, on the banks of Chitravati, people had to cross the river and come this side. He would be waiting for devotees on the banks and then, actually come to Prasanthi Nilayam. He would tell them what is the daily routine in Prasanthi Nilayam. He would say, we have Omkaram in the morning and then Suprabhatam, he would explain.
The orientation course was given by Swami.
And the outline of the ashram, he would say that is the well where you can get drinking water, you should finish all your morning ablutions in the river, and then you can come here and I will give darshan, and then after that we can have a satsang, I can give you interviews and so on. Now that we've gone back to those black and white days, if I may say so, why don't we all try to go back to that time when Swami was 10 years old and he was leading bhajans, a young group of children, singing bhajans with that Pandhari bhajan group.
Absolutely, yes, why not?
Let us all sing along with that Pandhari bhajan group of Swami. Panduranga Vithala Pandharinath Vithala Vithala Pandharinath Vithala Panduranga Vithala Pandharinath Vithala Vithala Jaya Panduranga Prabhu Vithala As we were saying, Swami was the first public relation officer of the ashram. He was also the first bhajan singer in the mandir. So, he would, like as Siddhartha was saying, Swami would say, darshan is at this time, bhajan is at this time. So after the darshan and breakfast is over, people would come and sit in the bhajan hall and Swami would lead the bhajans.
In fact, there's a very interesting story. It seems when the mandir was getting built, the bhajan hall that we see now, have you got a chance to go into the bhajan hall? Behind Samadhi? You should. So that was built. It was so big, in those days, compared to all the other little tiny huts, that Mother Ishwarama, Swami's mother, was actually quite, perturbed. Swami, why are you building such a big mandir? Who will come over here? If you build a smaller hall, it will at least look jam-packed. You made such a big hall, there will be hardly like 20 people sitting over there. And Swami said, you don't know. There are other plans, I can do, and I'm able to see what is going to come, how many people are going to come. Today, the entire Kulwant hall gets jam-packed, right? About 35,000 people can sit.
Yeah, the bhajan hall is not sufficient probably for even devotees from South Africa who come. Yeah. Mother Ishwarama was worried in those days. Anyway, so a bhajan like this is what Swami would sing.
Not like this. This is the.
Oh yeah, this is the bhajan which Swami used to sing, and this bhajan would go on for 20 minutes or half an hour, and then everybody would be sitting. Just one bhajan would go on for 20 minutes or half an hour.
Swami would be singing. We'll just listen to it.
O Bhagavan, O Bhagavan, O Bhagavan, Satya Sai Bhagavan, O Bhagavan, O Bhagavan, O Bhagavan. भगवान, ओ भगवान, ओ भगवान, ओ भगवान, सत्य साई भगवान, ओ भगवान, ओ भगवान, ओ भगवान, सत्य साई भगवान, राम भगवान, राम भगवान, राम भगवान, सीता राम भगवान, राम भगवान, राम भगवान, राम भगवान, सीता राम भगवान, कृष्ण भगवान, कृष्ण भगवान, कृष्ण भगवान, राधा कृष्ण भगवान, कृष्ण भगवान, कृष्ण भगवान, कृष्ण भगवान, राधा कृष्ण भगवान. And this would go on, and Swami would sing Yeshu Bhagavan, Allah Bhagavan, Datta Bhagavan, you name all the gods. So, Sarva Dharma bhajans, all the faiths, everything was there in this one bhajan, and it would have multiple speeds. So it would start at this speed and it would reach a crescendo. So, by the end of half an hour, you had a whole session of one bhajan, which had all its elements. So that was how it started.
And again, continuing with that tradition of how Swami was the first mandir singer, there's one more incident which I recall, which was narrated to us by Eradi sir. I don't know how many of you are familiar with him. The Eradi brothers, there were three of them. They were devotees from Kerala, and who come in the tradition of Nama Sankirtana bhajans. And he was narrating how for the Shivaratri bhajans, the Akhanda bhajans which used to go on from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., there used to be hardly 4 singers on the gents side and probably 1 or 2 singers on the ladies side for the whole 12 hours of the bhajan. And this one particular year, there were 3 of them and 2 ladies on the other side, and bhajans were going on. And it seems he was thinking to himself, saying, how long can this go on? Because they would have slots of half an hour each. So one singer would lead the bhajans for half an hour, and then he would get 1.5 hours of rest, and then again he would get his turn again, so to say. So he was thinking to himself, saying, how long can this go on? Like, what if one of us are not able to come, or a couple of us are held up with something, then how can these bhajans go on like this? There are too few singers to conduct an all-night bhajan session. And I believe the next morning at about 5 o'clock, Swami came out. Swami came to the bhajan hall. Swami came to him and said, what were you thinking? And obviously he was quite taken aback and he couldn't understand what Swami was saying. And Swami said, you are thinking who's going to lead the bhajans? How days ahead, how they would manage with the shortage of singers. A day will come when my students will line up to sing in front of me, okay? And there will be so many people that they will not get chance to sing. And he says, at that time there was only the Veda Patashala, which was established by Swami. This is sometime in 61. There was no college, there was no university at that time. The university came up in 81. So they're wondering, who are these students that Swami is referring to? Is he referring to the Veda Patashala school boys? Then they learn Vedam. They're not going to chant, they're not going to sing bhajans.
Far from being singers. Yeah.
And Swami says, my students will line up and not all of them will get a chance to sing. And then he says, Swami added a post note. He said, but don't worry, even then you will be here and you will be singing for me. And he says, he saw how the university was set up and how the students were brought forward to sing by Swami himself, how Swami encouraged the students to sing.
Yes.
And
you have a personal
yes,
about Shivratri.
yeah. And remember that statement that Swami made, that he said, my students will line up to sing in front of me. There will be so many that they will not all get a chance to sing. When he narrated this story, I could only think of myself, because when I joined the Mandir Bhajan group in 2006, there were a total of 39 singers from the student community. And I never got a chance to sing for Shivratri Bhajans in Swami's presence, because there were so many of them senior singers, and Swami's words have to come true, isn't it? And I was part of that which made it come true. Where is one of those singers whom Swami referred to back then in 61, saying, who will not get a chance to sing? I was probably one of them whom he had in mind. So it just shows how, how humble a beginning the Prasanthi Mandir Bhajan Hall had, how the Bhajan singers were, first it was Swami, and then he had these few devotees who could sing, and how he always had in his mind that, this is how he's going to take the legacy of Sai Bhajans, how he's going to establish it, and today, that's what draws all of us from different parts of the world. The first thing that most people are captivated is because they hear bhajans, Sai Bhajans. So just see what a wonderful genesis it has had, and how it had its humble roots, beginning with none other than Bhagwan himself.
And towards the 70s and the 80s, when the students started to sing, mind you, these were not students who had, a classical or a music tradition or, any training in music. Swami was the one who came and gave the first talam. The first tabla to the mandir was given by Swami. The first harmonium to the mandir was given by Swami. And Swami would literally pick up anybody, any innocuous boy sitting and say, come play. And that fellow Swami, I have never seen a tabla in my life. And Swami said, nothing, you can learn, no problem. That is the kind of, when we say talent is God's gift, and only He knows what is there embedded within each one of us. We have seen that. Means, I'm sure Ravi Bhaiya is also one of those early singers who came. And so Swami would, some of the elder brothers were telling us, Swami would come out every day and he would call all the bhajan singers inside for a practice session. You know where the practice sessions for bhajans used to happen? In the interview room. In front of whom? In front of Swami. Swami would have the bhajan practice in front of him. Okay, just see, this is the beauty and the sweetness of our Lord, because he would be attending the practice sessions only to go outside into the bhajan hall and accept the bhajans. Right? We go, we practice, and then where do we go? We go and sit in the altar and offer it to Swami, Here was Swami accepting and he would tell, don't sing like this, sing like this, all the instructions, and go outside and then put talam for the bhajans. As if he's hearing it for the first time.
Yeah, the beauty of that is, one of the reasons Swami would tell them he is doing that is, so one thing is, yes, the sweetness of the Lord, he's accepting it himself. But he says, see, there are scores of people who are going to follow you when you sing. So he wanted it to be right. As we were saying, the headlight, we don't want to be pointing the headlight in the wrong direction. So those who are leading the bhajan have that, that onus to point people in the right direction towards Swami. So Swami made people practice in the interview room so that they are guiding people along the right way.
And there's one very interesting thing that one of the elder brothers was telling us. So during holidays, when students would go home for vacations, Swami would ask, so what are you going to do for the vacation? So he'll say, Swami, we were going home. And Swami would say, if you're going north, stop by in Calcutta, pick up a few bhajans and then you can go home. So that when you come back, you can sing those bhajans for me. And so that's how the first few, there were great devotees like Kalyan Chaudhary sir, Devnath Mukherjee sir. These are all legendary people like Madhuvana Sanchari Shamam Rari. This bhajan was composed by Kalyan Chaudhary sir. He actually saw, when he came to Prasanthi Mandir, he saw Swami, as Swami was giving darshan, he saw Swami floating and the entire ashram changed into Vrindavan. And he saw Swami in the form of Krishna floating, and that's when this bhajan came forth. Madhuvana Sanchari, Shama Murari. Those were the kind of legendary people whom Swami would tell boys to go and learn. Couple of years this happened, go learn. The third year everybody knew, so Swami would ask, where are you, what are your vacation plans? Swami, we will go to so and so and pick up bhajans. Swami suddenly said, why? You yourself compose bhajans. And that is how the first set of bhajans, started getting composed. And some of the most famous bhajans that we know today were composed during that, I would say, the golden era of Sai bhajans. Most of the bhajans, for example, Ishwar Allah ek tumi ho, karuna sindhora, Anandamaya Bhagavan, Premamaya Bhagavan, Artishwari Jagat Janani, Jaya 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 Sai Janani, Anupama Sundara Nanda Kishora,
बृंदावन घनश्याम.
Several such bhajans, these were all bhajans which were composed during those 80s. And some of those brothers tell us that how we would know every day a new bhajan would be sung, sometimes even 3 bhajans, new bhajans would be launched every day. There was a launch, like how our Hindi movies get launched on Fridays. No, in Swamis it was every day launch, every day new launch. And how a bhajan they would know, students would know Swami likes or not, would be the number of speeds in which Swami would take the bhajan. So something like Ishwara Allah, the brother was telling, went to 7 speeds. Can you imagine? Ishwara Allah, Ishwara Allah, Ishwara Allah, Ishwara. It went on like this. That is, the number of speeds that Swami took it to, that was the stock price of that particular bhajan for that day, if I can say. So that is how, these bhajans, these early bhajans started.
That's how Swami, that's how he engineered this whole process. He made the boys go and learn first how to compose. Then he said, enough of learning, now you compose on your own. That is how the whole bhajan group came up, with hundreds of bhajans being composed by the students. And one thing about these bhajans is, it's not just that the bhajans are simple, or they are tough, or they are slow, or they are fast. There is such a huge, wide variety among these bhajans, that one thing we always say to each other is that it caters to so many genres of music. Right?
Almost every genre. For example, there were people who came from all over the country, right? So there were students who came from north, south, east, west, far west, far east, all sorts of people. And each one came and, wanted to give their offering to Bhagwan. So for example, a pure Carnatic bhajan would be something like Kasturi Tilakam Narayanam Kamalanayanam Narayanam. Pure Carnatic bhajan.
Yeah, somebody who loves to listen to Carnatic bhajan would totally get immersed when that bhajan is going on. Or when you have somebody who likes Hindustani kind of music. Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Gaye Sada Subhar Sham, हर एक पल में हर एक क्षण में भजे हम सदा तेरो नाम, गाएगी सदा सुबह और शाम, गाएगी सदा सुबह और शाम.
We have something in the light version also. Some very simple, like very nostalgic feeling that you get, when you hear.
He Nath Nath Swami, tum ho antaryami, tum ho mere Bhagwan, tum ho mere Bhagwan.
And then you have something in the ghazal version also, right? You have lots of bhajans which are these really tough and ghazalish. So can I request Ravi Bhaiya to
Devi Sharanam Simhavayini, Devi Sharanam Asura Vinashini, Devi Sharanam Bhavarini, Devi Sharanam Bhavarini, Devi Sharanam Harinarayani, Devi Sharanam Harinarayani, Devi Sharanam Brahma Sanatani, Dehi शरणं साई नारायणी.
क्या बात है, क्या बात है.
And it's something that would cater to a Western, a chord-based bhajan. Somebody who comes from the West would like something light, something which changes chords. That kind of
Simple chords.
Shambho Mahadeva, Shiva Shambho Mahadeva, Shambho Mahadeva, Shiva Shambho Mahadeva, Hara Hara Bhava Bhavaya, Shiva Shiva Namo. Hara Hara Bhava Bhavaya, Shiva Shiva Namo. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shambho Mahadeva, Shiva Shambho Mahadeva.
It's almost, these bhajans are like, this hotline that we can create with Bhagwan, isn't it? Every bhajan is like a conversation that we can have with Swami. If you're angry with Bhagwan, shout out, scream at him through a bhajan. Why not? He's our Swami. If you're sad and you're sorrowful, sleep on his lap, shed tears on his shoulders. His is the only shoulders that is there for us. If you're happy, sing in joy for his sake. That is the beauty of our Sai bhajans. You can almost pick up any bhajan and have a conversation with Swami. And I think that's the biggest and most beautiful gift that Swami has given all of us. Just to wrap up our little conversation with you on bhajans, just wanted to see what is the impact, these bhajans. So there are all these genres and this is all the evolution and etc. etc. But what does it really do? What are these bhajans supposed to do to us? And so we just thought we will just share a few experiences with you which have happened in our presence and with Swami. If I can ask Brother Ravi there's a beautiful experience that happened in the 90s. I'll request him to share.
I was doing my college back then, and Swami would do this to the students. If he was upset with the students for some reason, there was one thing that he would do which would make the boys, the students feel really, really hurt. And Swami's idea is not to hurt the students, it is to teach a lesson. And what Swami would do is, he would stop speaking to the boys. And there was no torture greater than this. Boys would come, we would all go and sit in the mandir. And Swami would come for darshan. He would go around the devotees, speak lovingly to all the devotees, smile at them, call them for an interview. By the time he would reach the portico, he would reach there and then, he would love the walls a lot. He would not see the boys who are sitting here. He would love the wall. He would turn towards the wall and stick to the wall and go into the interview room. He would not look at the boys. And then the interview would finish, all the devotees would come out and the bhajans would start. Swami would not come out. When it is nearly Arati time, Swami would come out from the interview room, straight away go sit on the throne, take the Arati and leave. Those days he would stay in the mandir itself. So he would go back into the interview room. Yeah, normally it would happen for 3 days, 4 days, and then what we would do is we would all gather around him after some time and shout and say, Swami, please forgive us and things like that, and Swami would forgive. So this time it went on for about 4 days, 5 days, a week. Nothing is happening. Nothing is moving Swami. And so by this time it was time for boys to think and say, see, there's no more of this dikhawa, this thing showing outside, saying that Swami, please forgive us, we are yours, you are ours. And no, Swami wanted something beyond that. So the entire hostel went into a mode of introspection. So, our warden, our wing teachers, all of us, they would tell that, it's time to look within. Why is Swami doing this to us? So we would sit, and there were groups of boys who would, they would have study circles. There were groups of boys who would sit and sing bhajans to Swami. And those who would chant Vedam to Swami, shlokas, Hanuman Chalisa, name it, that was happening. After bhajan, in which Swami would have avoided the entire lot, everybody would go back to the hostel and once again start thinking about Swami. And this went on for about a week. And Swami was still avoiding. So it's been a full 15 days and Swami has not been speaking to the boys. It's almost like we had no reason to be around here in Puttaparthi. The reason for our lives was Swami, and Swami was not looking at us. So, we were despondent beyond a certain barrier. But what this translated into was the amount of devotion and that yearning for Swami that had come up in all the boys. So, after all this was happening in the hostel, Parayanam, study circles and all that, we came and devotion was at its brim. And so we were all sitting. I remember that day I was not leading the bhajan. I was not sitting in the bhajan hall. I was sitting in the portico outside behind. It was bhajan time. As usual, Swami went into the interview room and then he went and sat for the bhajan. There was probably time for a couple of bhajans more, after which it would be time for Arati. Then one of my elder brothers sang this bhajan. We were all sitting there waiting to follow, so there was a pause. Swami was sitting there and he would close his eyes. He would not even look at the boys who were sitting there. He would close his eyes, and he would go into a trance kind of a thing. And this boy, he just started singing this bhajan. Sai prem de. He just said this much. And believe me, we were about 400 of us, all grown-up boys. We were all in college. We were sitting there. We all broke into a sob. Because that moment of devotion which was brimming over was so much, the brother who started the bhajan actually broke down on mic. He said, Sai prem de. There was nothing more we wanted. We just, Swami, we want your love. It was that moment. And the amount of devotion with which he sang and that connect with which it made to all of us sitting here, we all broke down. And in front of Swami, when we all break down, what does Swami do? He is our mother. Swami got up. He could not sit a second longer on the throne. He rushed out of the Bhajan Mandir, came to the portico and just called forth for all his children, come to me. And we all rushed, 400 of us, grown adults. We rushed because our mother is calling us finally after 2 weeks of starvation. This is the drop of love from Swami. We rushed. And everybody was crying and saying, Swami, forgive us, etc., etc. And of course, this beautiful bhajan was going on in the background. Sai Prema De, Shanti De. There was a lot of crying, there was a lot of devotion. All this going across between Swami and us. And Swami was the loving mother. He said, I forgive, you're all good, you're my children after all. And this patch-up was made between the students and their mother, Lord Sai. The thing is, all this prayer has come to a crescendo and then it brimmed over in that one line of the bhajan, which just broke through everybody's heart. That is a kind of emotion, that is a kind of connect that a bhajan can have between the devotees and the Lord. This is a wonderful thing. This, because it happened right in front of my eyes and I was a participant in that, it's somewhere, it's stuck in the, in the mind and in the heart that this is what a bhajan can do. It can make that bond between us and our Lord that strong. That is one incident which comes to mind. Yeah.
Sir, when you're talking about this, how bhajans can take an entire group closer to Him, and since we're talking about the impact of that bhajans can have, I recall this other story which happened with a family friend of ours in Chennai. And this elderly couple who have a son and a daughter. The daughter is married and settled in US. And the son suffers from schizophrenia. He has frequent bouts of violence. So the auntie had a fall, and uncle was finding it difficult to take care of both the son and his wife. So they wanted to send the son to US to stay with the sister for some time. And there was nobody whom they could send him with. and they were not too sure how they could send him alone. And you know what they did? They decided to send him alone, and all that they couldn't really predict, right? Because he has this frequent bouts of violence, so they're not too sure how he would behave himself on a long journey from Chennai all the way to US. So they got him a Walkman full of bhajans and asked the air hostess to just ask him to sit and listen to bhajans all the way. And that's all he did. And he safely went all the way to America. So, you know, that's the impact that faith is one, faith that bhajans will protect him and take him across safely. Secondly, how it can calm you, it can keep you so calm and can serve so many ways, it can make so much of an impact in a person's life.
So next time you're not feeling too well, you know what to do. Just plug in some bhajans, and you know it's the medicine. It's like Swami says, it's the aushadam, for the human body as well as the mind. It's the medicine for the mind. And in fact, just to kind of wrap up, very very similar story. This, I'm sure you must have all heard this, but nevertheless I'll repeat it once more. This was the early days of Akhanda Bhajan, the 24-hour non-stop bhajan. And it was a time when Swami would actually come to Bangalore, where it all started. The Akhanda Bhajan started in Bangalore, and Swami would actually come and attend close to about 12-13 hours of bhajan. And it so happened that on one of the occasions, there was a gentleman who had, spots on his body, pigmentation, what they call, these white patches you have over the body. A young man who was having this, suffering from this disease, who came to Mr. Padmanabhan, in whose house Swami was staying, and said, can you please pray on my behalf to Swami, to cure me of this, because I also wish to lead a life, with this kind of a disease, nobody will, I won't find a partner, I won't get a good job, etc., etc. And Dr. Padmanabhan knew, Swami's ways. He said, no recommendations with Swami. You pray directly. Why are you going through me? Right? There's no business for anybody else to be there between Bhagwan and the Lord. It's direct heart-to-heart connection. So you pray to Swami directly. And so on one of the, on the particular bhajan night, Swami had already spent about 3.5 hours. From 6 to 9:30, Swami had sat for the bhajans. Swami came back home very tired. He had travelled all the way from Puttaparthi. In those days, the travel from Puttaparthi to Bangalore would take about 12 hours. So Swami had finished this 12-hour journey, attended the bhajans. He had just come back. It was pouring, it seems. And Swami had just had his meal. He was just sitting down. Immediately he said, come, let's go back for bhajans. And so Dr. Padmanabhan said, Swami, you've just come back, we can go back tomorrow morning. And so no, Swami said, no, right now I have to go. Take the car, pull the car out. So he's saying, Swami, but you're so tired, you just spent the whole day. So Swami said, are you going? And Swami actually just, got up and started walking out. And they were wondering what is happening. So immediately Dr. Padmanabhan brought the car out. Swami sits in the car. He reaches the venue for the bhajans. And as he reaches there, there's one gentleman singing this particular bhajan. Let's all sing along. And then I'll tell you the rest of the story.
दर्श दिखाओ मेरे साईं नंदलाला, मेरे साईं नंदलाला, दया करो मुझे कृष्ण गोपाला, करो मुझे कृष्ण गोपाला, देवकी नंदन दीन दयाला, नंदन दीन दयाला, मदन गोपाला, मदन गोपाला, साई नारायण सदा कृपाला, नारायण सदा कृपाला, दया करो मुझे कृष्ण गोपाला, दया करो मुझे कृष्ण गोपाल, दया करो मुझे साई गोपाला, करो मुझे साई गोपाला.
And this bhajan was going on, and the person who was singing this bhajan was this particular young man with this disease. And he had just closed his eyes. He had not even noticed that Swami had come, and Swami just stood right opposite to him as he completed this bhajan. And even as he opened his eyes, he saw Swami standing in front of him. Swami simply put his hand on his head. And right there, in front of everyone seated there, the patches just disappeared. Yes, he was brought back to absolute normalcy just by the touch of the Lord. And it was that bhajan which made all the difference in that person's life. That is the impact that a prayer from a pure heart can make, can do. Not only to us, not only to that person, but to each and every one who is seated there. That is again coming back to the fact that is the beauty of bhajan. Somebody else's good singing can raise our levels of devotion, isn't it? I need not do anything for it. Even if somebody else is doing a good job, is doing a fantastic job, automatically my level rises. That is the beauty of bhajans. With these few experiences and with the time that brother had given us, I thought we'll wrap up this session. And we once again take this opportunity to thank you all and wish you all the very best for the beautiful bhajans that you will be singing tomorrow morning. We heard it this morning in this evening in Kulwant Hall. And it is that Sai Darbar, it is that mandir which is now beckoning all of you to come and pour out your heart, to pour out your prayers, and be sure that the Lord of Prasanthi Nilayam is sitting and listening to each and every one of the hearts which are pouring out. And we wish you all a fantastic, not only a beautiful bhajan session, but the rest of your stay in Prasanthi Nilayam, and a wonderful, take Prasanthi. In fact, what is Prasanthi Nilayam? Wherever Swami is, that is Prasanthi Nilayam, isn't it? So if Swami is seated in your heart, that becomes Prasanthi Nilayam. So whether it is Durban, whether it is Johannesburg, whether it is Bloemfontein, is that the right way of saying it? We know only all of this with the cricket matches that go on. Cape Town, Port Elizabeth, okay. I think Siddharth knows more than me. Each one of those places can become Prasanthi Nilayam. Right? Wherever we are, we can take Swami along with us. That becomes Prasanthi Nilayam. There is no other Prasanthi Nilayam that we need to seek but the Prasanthi Nilayam of our hearts, the abode of supreme peace. That is his residence. Sairam, Akshay, I'm seeing you now. He's one of our Swami's ambassadors in South Africa. One of our talented... Yes, anything that you would like to suggest, comment, share, ask?
Is there something like a bhajan order? Start bhajan, end bhajan. Can you just explain to us what is Swami said on that? Because I think that's something which is very pertinent for the nation too.
Actually, we have got this question many times from several people, and my personal suggestion is always that the Prasanthi Nilayam bhajans are very different from all other bhajans. Because we don't follow, the normal order of Ganesh. Of course, every bhajan starts with Ganesh, but the rest of the order is not what we follow. What the international or the national organization, Guru, Devi, Shiva, Krishna, Sarvadharma, we don't follow that. The simple logic that we follow here in Prasanthi Nilayam is from slow to fast. Because towards the end, you want something really fast to go on. It raises the crescendo, it raises the whole tempo of the bhajan. So we start slow and then we move towards fast. So for example, you would never see a Guru Baba as a second bhajan. Because right at the second, the person is just settling down, he's slowly getting into the anesthesia. You can't press the anesthesia, pump it right into him, say, Guru Baba, you can't start, right? So we start with Guru Varana, Pavanana, slowly set him in. And then towards the end, you pump in the adrenaline and all of that rush will come towards the end. So that's the general.
Yeah, and similarly, you don't administer this anesthesia towards the end of the bhajan. So, by the time everybody is full of enthusiasm and full of energy, you don't go Jaya Kailashpati. No, that's not done. In fact, on many occasions we have seen towards the end of a Shivratri or a Akhanda bhajan, when people are there and full of energy, and then some slow bhajan comes.
Just imagine, 5 o'clock in the morning, the first thing you want to do is sleep. You're waiting for Shivratri bhajans to get over. Lord, we have woken you up, now allow us to sleep. And at that time, just imagine, like just 2 bhajans before Arati. Bhavanasha Puttapati Puri. Second line does not come only.
Only thing which would wake us up in the bhajan group was Swami's frowns. He would be like, what are you singing at 5:30 in the morning? So that is So that is one thing.
So that is one of the things about order fixing. Some of the other things that we have about order is we never repeat the deity. So we try to cover all the deities as possible, because in the crowd, especially in the Kulwant hall, totally heterogeneous crowd, you have a Devi Bhakta, Krishna Bhakta, Shiva Bhakta, Yeshu, Zoroastra, Mahavir, Nalla, Nanak, everybody sitting there. Right? There should be something for each one of them to connect to the Lord. It's the same Lord who's seated. So we try and see, Swami always used to say, so no 2 Shiva bhajans you will notice will ever repeat, consecutively.
Back to back.
Back to back. So if we are singing a second Guru, then it will be next Devi, then Krishna, Shiva, and we'll revisit the deities as and when, kind of. So that's another thing about.
If we look at a typical Prasanthi Nilayam bhajan sessions, probably if we sing 8 or 10 bhajans in the evening, for 45 minutes if we sing 10 bhajans, we will also have a beat change, 6 beat or a 7 beat bhajan, which somewhere comes after 4 or 5 bhajans, and that is something that even Swami was very particular about. He would love to see the change,
Some kind of change
in the beat. And like he said, we don't repeat deities. Of course, if we get into the nitty-gritties, we don't repeat ragas.
Yeah.
Major, minor. Back to back, we don't sing the same raga. And we try to alternate between major and minor bhajans if possible.
Just
as
imagine,
much as possible.
Imagine first bhajan was He Shivanandana. Second bhajan is Tripura Sundari Ma. Third bhajan is Nandalala. The people say, boss, why are you sitting and crying here?
So one bhajan in the middle, this is a very, Shivaranjani is a very, emotional raga. But you can't, melancholy and a lot of feeling. But one bhajan in between is okay. You can't continuously have, draw out people's
Variety,
energy.
Right. It's like a mall. You have all kinds of products. Go and pick up whatever you want.
So there are beats, then there is a raga, then there are gods. And then there is a speed. This is basically, this is it's not a written rule anywhere, but this is how it has evolved, as we said.
So I would always recommend that the bhajans should be in regional languages as far as possible, because that is what will welcome the the local crowd, right? Because the local flavor over here is Hindi or Sanskrit bhajans, so that is how Prasanthi Nilayam has been built. But I would strongly recommend that you must sing more regional kind of language bhajans back in your samitis. Compose more bhajans, because that is what is going to get the people in that area. Bhajans, I think, are extremely contextual. It has as you said, for example, let me tell you, I think sai in Chinese means to kill. So my nephew's name is Sai Shubhankar. And he gets scoffed at by his Chinese friends in Singapore. So he came home crying one day saying, why is my name Sai? So we had to explain to him and stuff like that. So again, it's very contextual. So you have to keep that flavor in mind, I think, when you're singing bhajans. Because Swami would say these
Samayam.
two. Exactly.
Samayam and Sandarbham. These are the two things Swami would say in Telugu, which are very important in bhajans.
The time and the circumstance.
Context.
Yeah.
So as you were saying, sir, in the context of the country where it is being sung, it would be wonderful if it is sung in the local language. That will involve more number of people. So even though we have a lot of common bhajans that we sing here in Prasanthi Nilayam, if you just go into some of the rural areas, there are lots of bhajans composed in, for example, Telugu here, or Tamil, or regional. They have those bhajans. But popularly in the samitis, major samitis where you have people coming from everywhere, we have these bhajans which are commonly known everywhere. Because there, if you sing the local language bhajans, it may not be followable. That is why also Swami insists that you can have more number of Namavali bhajans, which are just names of the Lord. That is easy. It doesn't have any language.
For example, O Bhagavan, O Bhagavan, O Bhagavan, Satya Sai Bhagavan is a very, very common, in any language, Bhagavan will be Bhagavan only, right? I hope. right? So something like that.
So, I hope I phrased this question properly. So, whenever we rendering bhajans, what should the role of instruments be in terms of supporting the vocalist? So, who should the vocalist follow? What instrument should lead the bhajan, etc.?
The answer is that you playing for Pratisha. Why don't we do that? You can sing.
Yeah. So yeah, these are all. I mean, I guess these are little technical things. For those who are not so kind of well immersed in the technical aspects of bhajans. But yeah, for those of you who are interested, Swami would always be like, play simple. The bhajan is not a place to showcase your
Ability, skill.
your skill, I would say. Yeah. So in fact, the true skill of the person comes in how much he is able to gel with the mood of the particular bhajan. So for example, I'll request Brother Ravi to sing Partishwari. Yeah. So just imagine if I were to sing, he were to sing Partishwari and I were to play for that.
Partishwari Jagadjanani Partishwari Jagadjanani.
What is the feedback? क्या बात है, क्या तबला बजा है, right? Is that the purpose for which this bhajan was sung?
In fact, the bhajan was not sung. I mean, the singer was following the tabla. Tabla was leading.
Sorry.
That was the intention. Yeah, so that is something, as you asked very rightly. So these are called accompanying instruments. They are not the main instrument. So in any bhajan, the vocal is the main instrument, so to say. So these are to accompany and not do too much that it actually distracts people from the bhajan. Because the whole idea of bhajan is that people are concentrating on God.
Yeah, I feel if at any point of time, if people say kya baat hai is what we should be asking, what's the matter with you guys? For what have we come over there? Isn't it? We can always sit and jam, separately. Bhajan is not the place where you kind of show, you know what, this is the latest tal I learned, check this out, the latest Zakir beat or the latest Tirakwa, kind of, that's not the place. We can always sit practice times and, play. In fact, we have Pandit Nishikant Barudekar sir, who is Pandit Ustad Zakir Hussein's student. Okay, there's nothing that he cannot do. But even then, he kind of controls himself so much during bhajan.
Support the bhajan as well.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, there are lots of examples we can give. For example, how different bhajans, you can still do these kind of things, but it will still, kind of gel with the bhajan, gel with the mood of the bhajan. So, for example, Jaya Kausalya.
Jaya Kaushalya Nandana Ram Paramananda Ananda Ram Kaushalya Nandana Ram Paramananda Ananda Ram. This would gel with the bhajan. Though he's playing variety, but it's not
the normal, yeah, we're not playing the normal dadra, right? We are playing a little, that swinging kind of beat, as if you're sitting in a boat, and you're rocking along,
with Lord Rama.
With Lord Rama. Similarly, I think the harmonium also, a whole lot of people, they have a lot of skill and talent, and surely that is worth offering to the Lord. Just that let it not be offered to the public before being offered to the Lord, right? The public is not why you're sitting over there. It's the Lord why you're sitting over there. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Sarah.
Thank you.